Summer Game Mess easily saw more than 1,000 games being shown off, big, small, and everything in between. So here are the best games I'm excited about, including new reviews, updates to existing games, release date announcements, and more. So let's begin with Necrofugitive, a long in development stealth action platformer, which I was pleasantly surprised to see. Showing up at the Future Games show and revealed their upcoming Kickstarter launch. You play as an evil shapeshifter on the run from justice, having to deal with the intelligent AI enemy units which patrol, set traps, coordinate ambushes, and adapt to your actions. Transform into defeated enemies to hide your presence, or become a monstrous beast to deal with hordes of enemies, having some sick looking pixel art where it's just great to hear from the developers that this project is still alive. Just a quick trailer for 13Z The Zodiac Trials, a fast-paced third-person hack-and-slash action roguelite where you play as representations of animal spirits like the fox or raven, aiming to become the legendary 13th Zodiac. Each character is unique, with distinct traversal skills, weapon types, and combo-focused fighting styles, chaining together light and heavy attacks, along with dodges and special abilities, also having co-op support, and they have been running playtests to refine and improve the game, the latest of which will be live until 30th of June, so get access via their Steam page. This video is brought to you by Bygone Dreams, an ambitious third-person high-fantasy action-adventure RPG set within a surreal dream world. You play as Wa, the last guardian, on a quest to save the dream realm of Loom and its matron deity from a devouring nightmare. Set in a world inspired by Slavic mythology and medieval Bosnian folklore, journey through a vast, dreamlike world filled with floating architecture, shifting landscapes, and mysterious ruins as you encounter various types of enemies and face dozens of epic boss fights. This has great looking, fast-paced combat, exploration, and puzzle solving, giving you access to a range of combat options including melee, range, and elemental magic as you swap between these in fluid combat. Also having equipment customization so that you can tailor your playstyle. A ton of work has gone into this, having over 2 hours of fully voiced cutscenes and more than 50 original tracks composed for this game and more, so if interested, this is available right now on Steam with a 10% launch discount, so buy there if interested. What happens when you take the Cuphead art style and turn it into an action roguelite? Well, you might get something like Into the Unwell, a third-person action roguelite packed with surreal platforming and chaotic combat set in a twisted world, self-described as a cartoonish fever dream, and that is not too far from the truth. You play as one of several flawed and heavily medicated misfits, each wielding one of 4 bizarre weapons, from a giant ice cream cone to lobotomized lollipops, using these to fight your way through the titular location, the Unwell. Intense 3D platforming and combat form the core of the action, where I noticed that you're able to jump to avoid enemy attacks, which gives it a dynamic feel as compared to other 3/4 view roguelites. The art and animations are the highlight, looking excellent and beautifully translated into 3D, with the whole mental illness thing and nightmarish bosses contributing to the insane enemy and boss designs, while still retaining a touch of the whimsical. There is a meta progression system as you collect talent stars to spend on upgrades as well as unlock new characters for more gameplay variety, showing how important art styles are in getting attention. A title which is quite the curiosity is Mortal Shell 2, the follow-up to one of the best independent Souls-like titles, which managed to innovate by adding the shell system of different characters as well as the hardened mechanic used cleverly in combat, but this sequel removes the stamina system and turns it into more of a classic action-packed RPG. While stamina is gone, there are still aggressive parries, stagger-based executions, and responsive melee combat that is both fluid and unforgiving, also retaining the gothic grim-dark aesthetic that FromSoft games are known for, and perhaps is their tribute to Sekiro this time around. Similarly, each shell you find can be possessed, unlocking a unique moveset aligned with its lost memories, letting you choose your playstyle by embodying different warriors. Also, there are now guns in the game, including shotguns which look OP, but I suppose like in Remnant, they will find a way to balance this with equally grotesque looking enemy designs and has some brutal looking combat, including grabbing onto and stabbing an enemy multiple times in the gut, with the vibe certainly being metal AF and looks like it's for fans of the genre. They are going to conduct a beta playtest in 2026, so if interested, there's a link on their Steam page to sign up so that you will get an email whenever that drops. Going from absolutely brutal to something quite different is Snap and Grab, a stylish 3D stealth puzzle adventure game where you play as Nifty Nevada, a fashion photographer turned master thief orchestrating heists through the power of photography. You visit richly detailed locations like Tokyo's glamorous fashion train or Cairo's disappearing ice hotel and use your camera to steal items indirectly. You are casing the location, capturing photos of treasures, threats, and valuable clues to plan the perfect heist. I'm not sure how the gameplay plays out exactly since the trailer doesn't show it, but it looks like Pokemon Snap in the photography phase that I get. But after you get all the photos, I don't know how the heist part plays out, with screenshots showing some form of pre-planning phase as you link photos together and instruct your crew on what action to take, looking wholly unique, which makes it of interest. We did also get a new look at Streets of Rogue 2, a sandbox immersive sim RPG that appears to have ditched the rogue part of the original and added more streets. Yes, the world is still procedurally generated, but that appears to occur only at the start, where the city, forest, rivers, roads, and other locations of interest are then fixed for the playthrough. You have one goal: overthrow the corrupt president and take the reins of the country, but how you do that is completely up to you. Every action ripples across the world, since break a wall and it stays broken, disrupt the local economy, and a shift in power follows. You have a choice of dozens of different character classes like hacker, thief, vampire, or gorilla, each with unique traits and ways to interact with the environment. The NPCs in the city have their own routines, allegiances, and memories, aiming to create RimWorld-style emergent storytelling as you go along. Vehicles, base building, crafting, and dynamic weather adds even more to the mix, essentially looking like endlessly replayable GTA. So of course, there's a huge amount of hype, where we don't have a release date just yet, but I think it should be close. There are a number of Souls-adjacent titles in this list, one of which is HARK the GHOUL, a first-person dungeon crawler that is probably better described as a King's Field-like, mixing Souls-like stamina-based combat, exploration, and an almost immersive sim style of problem-solving, as you navigate the interconnected city streets and labyrinthine underground area. Using a versatile toolkit of swords, whips, pistols, cannons, magic, and even a powerful kick, combat is weighty and expressive, with enemies telegraphing attacks where you can parry or stagger them if timed correctly. I love the throwback art style, reminding me of Flying Knight or something, with the world hiding plenty of secrets, so experiment with kicking things into pits or using magic to discover these, providing some degree of free-form exploration and puzzle solving, and looks very cleverly made. I'm on a bit of a survival horror kick, which is why Ground Zero got my attention, one which is set in post-apocalyptic South Korea, where a meteor strike has unleashed grotesque mutations across the land and has some of the coolest throwback art that I have seen. You play as an elite operative, tasked with uncovering the truth behind the impact's aftermath, having to survive against mutated creatures as you explore. The game uses fixed camera angles as well as optional tank controls to create classic survival horror tension, cranking up the intensity for every encounter. Combat is deliberate and resource driven, where in addition to scarce ammo, apparently you are rewarded with something known as genome points for a cleaner kill, which I'm assuming means not getting hit, which you can then trade for gear upgrades. Exploration and puzzle solving are mixed in, having some monstrous enemy designs including mutant animals and dinosaurs for some reason, and looks like a great entry in this space. From the developer of Abzu and The Pathless comes Sword of the Sea, an atmospheric adventure exploration game where you play as the Wraith, gliding across surreal terrain with a hover sword, emphasizing flow-based traversal. You build momentum to carve through dunes, walls, and ramps, chaining flips and wall grinds with seamless skateboard-inspired tricks and movement. You are exploring ancient civilizations hidden beneath the shifting sands, restoring a lost ocean by uncovering ocean seeds that trigger environmental transformation, opening up new exploration paths. While you are quite obviously riding around on a giant sword, I believe they have resisted the temptation of adding combat into this game, but does talk about a darkness lurking beneath the waves, so how that plays out I'm not exactly sure, but it's refreshing to have an exploration-focused title. Oh, and the creative director of this game did work on Journey as well and looks to be in a similar vein, only without the multiplayer aspect, having one of the most beautiful art styles as is signature for this developer and is a treat for the eyes. Up and down the indie roller coaster we go with Prison of Husks, which is completely different in terms of vibes and aesthetic, showing why I love indie games for the sheer range that they have. This is a moody, retro-inspired Souls-like RPG set in a painted afterlife where you play as a doll on a quest to find your lost love, traversing dense, interconnected levels that loop back upon themselves and hide secrets, shortcuts, and of course, monstrous bosses, not being shy at all in terms of inspiration. There's a certain rhythm to the combat which Souls-like fans will be familiar with, having to peel off and go on the defense before lunging in to land one or two hits, with each parry restoring stamina here, and where aggressive play builds adrenaline that increases damage but also increases your risk. In addition to the more common melee attacks, you will get access to a pistol, and while it is perhaps not as effective to the extent of a blunderbuss from Bloodborne, it might offer something different to disrupt enemy patterns. There will be hidden keys which open secret paths using the now signature environmental storytelling of games in this genre, and one has to admire the audacity of using a 4:3 resolution, so it is certainly one of note. What did I tell you about the roller coaster? Another absolutely gorgeous looking title is Planet of Lana II, a direct sequel to the original from 2023 and continues this cinematic puzzle-adventure platformer. After saving their planet, our two main characters, Lana and Mui, journey to uncover the mysterious past of the planet, exploring new wilderness areas, going into mountain ranges, underwater ruins, and an ancient forest, with what appears to be a deeper, more emotional story as well, since Lana's own inner demons need to be confronted. You will have more control over the cat character to tackle more of the physics-based puzzles and stealth challenges, which is in addition to the action set pieces as you pull off wall jumps and run slides to avoid danger as per the original title. The art style is similar to the first game and looks gorgeous as well, with quite the stinger at the end of the trailer, so if you're interested in this, do check out the original first as you wait for 2026. Surprise, surprise! Lies of P Overture was announced following the success of the base game, with this being a surprise drop during one of the showcases and is playable right now, which is not usually a strategy I recommend, but this developer and game is big enough to pull this off. This is a hefty prequel expansion to the acclaimed Souls-like RPG, sending you back to a pre-apocalyptic version of the city of Krat, before the occurrence of the Puppet Frenzy Massacre. You play as one of Geppetto's puppets, following a legendary stalker on her path of vengeance as you explore the city, this time including new, never-before-seen locations such as a dark circus, a frozen area, and more. There are new weapons, new combat styles, and both new and familiar characters to encounter, with intense combat and horrific monster designs as games in this genre tend to have. It's rare that you see DLCs sell as well as this, especially from a title from a smaller developer, with the original drawing comparisons to Bloodborne, so in the absence of Bloodborne PC, you could do much worse than this. One of the most anticipated games finally has an early access release date in Kingmakers, a sandbox action strategy hybrid set in medieval times, but where you are a time-displaced elite soldier wielding modern weaponry and vehicles. If you ever wondered what a carbine or a grenade launcher will do against knights in armor, well, this game will answer that question as you command and fight alongside your own army in battles of epic proportions. Switch between third-person action where you mow down knights using assault rifles and top-down strategic command, looking like commander mode in Battlefield 2 or something, where you are issuing orders and directing the flow of action across the battlefield, laying siege to enemy castles and destroying their armies. Enemy units adapt to your tactics and find ways to counterbalance your firepower over time, changing formations and strategy accordingly, so you need to be on your toes. The terrain is fully destructible, with castle walls collapsing under fire and possibly opening up new avenues of attack, with the time-displaced soldier aspect feeding into the narrative with a glimpse at the future, which you are trying to save by jumping into the past. And if you know how popular games like Chivalry 2 and Mod HOW are, you can see why this is a no-brainer. Indie developer Guard Crush has really made a name for themselves in the beat-em-up space, so much so that they were entrusted with Streets of Rage 4, which is why Absolum is of interest, their next title and original IP, which is a roguelite beat-em-up. Play as outcast heroes on a quest to reclaim magic from the Sun King, brawling your way through enemies in order to do so, having their signature, gorgeous hand-drawn art as well as unique characters to play as. Encounters occur across procedurally generated zones, where you face waves of magic-hungry enforcers and corrupted creatures. Between fights, you choose rituals and inspirations, offering elemental augmentations like fire, lightning, and tornado generating attacks to shape your build. Also having permanent upgrades which persist across runs with minor changes to the world, like unopened paths or secret rooms adding replay value. Believe it or not, the roguelite beat-em-up is pretty wide open in terms of standout title, with the one game that I can think of being Lost Castle 2, so there's plenty of room at the top and this should easily be up there. Co-op 3D, aka Baby Steps, is a literal walking simulator where you control Nate, an unemployed Phil's son in a onesie who suddenly gets sucked into a TV and finds a new purpose to move forward by putting one foot in front of the other. However, this is no casual stroll, since physics means that you will fall, requiring careful control of the trigger and analog sticks on controller to keep your balance. Missteps lead to physics-based ragdoll tumbles, not exactly giving you game over, but might cost you minutes of progress, as is Rage game tradition. Interestingly, the world appears to be a little bit more open, filled with a variety of biomes and associated hazards, and possibly hiding some secrets. There are also very strange, weird-looking NPCs that add to the absurdity of the whole situation, coming to us from the team that made Ape Out, that features one Bennett 40, best known for Getting Over It and Co-op. So this looks like an advancement of the concept and should be both challenging and frustrating. Kingdoms of the Dump is a SNES style turn-based RPG where if you know anything about me, of course this is my jam. Looking kind of like Final Fantasy VI but with a unique setting, theme, awesome art, and a unique developer story. Play as Dustin Binsley, the Trash Can Knight, having to stop the toxic Gremlin army and to prevent all-out war. Adventure across the 5.5 kingdoms of the Dump, taking part in active exploration with platforming, Mode 7 overworld exploration, use of an airship, and of course turn-based combat, but one which adds a grid and positioning. You will be able to recruit additional members to your party like a rat, a laundry wizard, and a literal loot, which is the bard of your party, with the lead character represented on screen in exploration and has unique traversal abilities which allows you to get to new areas. There are no random encounters, so enemies appear on screen, and if quick enough, you will be able to run away to avoid them. The tactical 3x3 combat grid has to be considered when deciding on which attacks to use and where to position your characters, having the active, timed hit turn-based combat to keep you engaged. Oh, and did I mention the two developers behind this worked as literal janitors, being subject matter experts so to speak, so if you grew up with this era of JRPGs, I'm sure that this will be of interest. We did also get a new trailer for Mewgenics, the next game from Edmund Macmillan, creator of The Binding of Isaac, as well as his collaborator on The End Is Nigh, Tyler Galeo, working together once again to make this turn-based tactical roguelite combined with a cat-raising life simulation legacy RPG where you collect, breed and send feline adventurers into procedurally generated dungeons. You manage a stable of cats across 6 classes, each with 50 plus unique abilities to draft from, using them in turn-based combat on isometric grids filled with environmental interactions. Since trees can be climbed or burned, weather affects performance and cover plays a critical role. Your team of up to 4 cats explores multiple chapters per run, battling bosses, collecting loot, and acquiring mutations, curses, and diseases that influence both their performance as well as legacy. Surviving cats return to your hub after a run where you can breed them, passing on traits and mutations, with this system acknowledging inbreeding risks as well as the age of the cats. There are also enchanted furniture to collect, used to upgrade the house, as well as 800 plus unique items and 200 plus enemy types, being very Edmund Macmillan in terms of art and humour, so expect plenty of poop and, let's say, inappropriate jokes, where he is one of the iconic indie game developers, so of course this is a must get. Speaking of Edmund Macmillan, once upon a time he was a part of Team Meat, who made the original standout indie precision platformer Super Meat Boy, and they are back with Super Meat Boy 3D, reimagining the lightning fast platforming of the original but now in 3 dimensions. Instead of free camera control, levels use fixed camera angles and 45-degree snap directions, enabling 8-directional movement and avoiding visual confusion at speed, which looks essential for a game like this. The momentum-based platforming of the original is back, with wall running, air dashing and tight platforming, also giving you a ground shadow indicator so you can see where you land. The brutal obstacles and traps like lasers and saw blades are also back, combined with the instant respawn upon death that keeps the action moving, looking like a decent amount of thought has gone into the conversion from 2D to 3D and is not a lazy attempt at a sequel, looking pretty good and is of note. While Stardew Valley, and to some extent Haunted Chocolatier, continues to chug along, indie developers appears to have simultaneously come to the realization that making a cozy farm sim might not get them anywhere, especially if they are attempting to go after the Stardew Valley audience and have pivoted to making scary farming games instead. Case in point with Neverway, blending farming sim with horror, as well as an increased focus on combat. You play as a former desk worker who inherits immortality as the herald of a dead god, having to rebuild a farm and find spiritual purpose after quitting her job. Interestingly, you can choose when to advance time from morning to afternoon to evening, balancing farming, crafting, combat and social interaction. Villagers have their unique schedules and personality traits where forging bonds with them unlocks buffs and combat abilities. Crafting feeds into both daily life and combat, since you can craft weapons, tools, potions or food that affect health, stamina and buffs, essential when you venture into the dungeons. Also, the lead pixel artist of Celeste is working on this game after perhaps a not so amicable breakup with extremely okay games which saw Earthblade get cancelled, with this looking good in terms of art and is a curiosity. Alright, sure. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound does use a storied IP and might be not so indie as a result, but it is technically from indie developer The Game Kitchen, best known for the Blasphemous series, so I guess it counts. This is a side-scrolling action platformer which is level-based and linear, mixing old-school precision with modern polish. There are 2 playable characters where you're able to swap between them and to use ninja fusion to unleash powerful attacks as you navigate through complex levels filled with platforms, spikes, enemies, and secret paths. Core combat centers on fast-paced combo chains mixed in with the wall climbing, air dashes, and dodge rolls, with the combat puzzle aspect being pronounced while still feeling fast and fluid. Of course, the pixel art is on point since we are talking about the Blasphemous people after all, with the demo during the Steam Nix Festival being very well received and is releasing very soon. One of the most insanely ambitious titles in development is Let's Build a Dungeon, a tycoon game, yes, but one which has a meta layer that places you in control of both a video game studio as well as the in-game MMORPG which your team is creating. You are deciding on what kind of MMO you want to make, placing buildings, NPCs, creating quest lines, dungeons, monsters, raids and all that, then opening up the servers for players to come in, being able to create your own character to experience the game as well. However, on the meta layer, you must decide on the business model, whether it's a one-time purchase, monthly subscription, free-to-play with microtransactions, or something else entirely, having to sustain enough of a player population to keep your studio running. You have to hire developers, artists, and testers, balancing budgets, crunch staff morale, and investor expectations, having to deal with marketing and PR, and the Steam Next Festival and all that, while weeding out key scammers and working with content creators, being very meta. The sandbox means that virtually any feature can be added, including this Hell World parody which they just revealed, and might be one for the ages if they make it right. One of the newly revealed titles that immediately shot up the charts and my personal wishlist is Ball Pit, the next game from developer Kenny Sun, who is better known for trippy, weird puzzle games, but this is a brick breaker roguelite, taking the arcade classic Arkanoid or Breakout and applying a roguelite twist to it. However, while the brick-breaking action remains the same, it is framed beautifully as heroes battling enemies, with ball power-ups and synergies along with meta progression in the form of base building. New Ball Ballon, your hub area, can be upgraded with various buildings, and you can even grow your roster of heroes and assign them to automate resource collection, adding some Cult of the Lamb style elements, also having demoed insanely well and is a legit Game of the Year contender. We did also get the review of the long-rumoured Bloodstained 2, this time with the title The Scarlet Engagement, a prequel Metroidvania set in the Bloodstained universe, leaning on the Igavania formula but expanding it with new mechanics, including a dual hero setup. You switch seamlessly between Leo and Alex, one a fighter from the church's Black Wolves clan, and the other a knight of the kingdom's White Stags and the lone survivor of an earlier expedition, as they team up to defeat the demon lord Elias and to stop his reign of terror. There is a buddy system where the two characters can execute combo moves together, along with the Castlevania-style RPG mechanics, but I do wonder what the replacement for the shards system would be. The 2.5D art looks much improved, also having some interesting cinematic camera angles, such as when one of the characters is sliding down a wall, where, come on, it is Iga after all, so I have faith that this will be great and is definitely for fans of the genre. Speaking of which, we did also get the release date announcement for Mina the Hollower, which is set for Halloween 2025, an excellent looking 8-bit Zelda-style action-adventure title with Castlevania inspiration, coming to us from Yacht Club Games, creator of Shovel Knight. You are on a desperate mission to rescue a cursed island, having dynamic combat despite being in 2D, giving you the ability to jump, dodge roll, and even burrow underground, giving you a variety of weapons as well. There is an interconnected sprawling map with XP and RPG levels to increase your stats, looking so good, and again is potential Game of the Year material. Following the success of Nobody Saves the World, the developer of Guacamelee, Drinkbox Studios is back with Blighted, an action-adventure RPG, but this time with a single character, and kind of looks like Hades. Play as the lone survivor of a village whose memory-bearing trees were destroyed by the Blight, reclaiming these lost memories by consuming the brains of defeated bosses, unlocking powerful abilities and opening up new paths, having fantastic art and action, so 2026 is already shaping up to be a killer year. Watch this video for the best games of the decade.